Welcome everyone to the 83rd edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast, brought to you by boxingasylum.com. It is Monday, Clint. It is Monday, the 25th of June. Tommy, can you hear me, mate?
Got you, mate, yep.
Good stuff, good to hear you on. I'm your host, Andy Patterson. With me today, I've got Tommy Allen, you just heard there, making a big belch rather than me for a change. Kurt Ward, who's fresh off holiday with the family, and rising from a phoenix from the ashes. We believe he's on his deathbed, or close to his deathbed last week. Donny Baseball, how you doing, Donny, before we get started here? I mean, you were MIA for a while there, mate. We were really worried, you know. What's happened?
Back with a vengeance.
Aye. Well, Amir Khan was chasing you out of the place, mate, with a fucking box of grapes and some chocolates and some flowers.
Apparently I couldn't breathe last week. I guess I thought Amir Khan was going to fight Keith Thurman, and I got really upset, so...
You couldn't breathe. It was a strangulated bollocks when your missus. She grabbed your butt so hard, mate. Anyways, all bullshit aside, it's good to have you all back. We'll dive right into the action, lads. Apologies to the listeners for yesterday not doing the show. Kurt was on holiday, he's our tech IT guy, so we couldn't do the show. But we're here today. The big talking story, obviously, is Vasily Lomachenko winning a majority decision against Gary Russell Jr. 116, 112 twice, and a draw, can you believe it, 114, 114 by some blind bat of a woman. I think we'll maybe get onto her a wee bit later on. I had the fight 117, 111. I felt going into the fight, it was it was one of those kind of chess matches, technical fight, but even though it was a technical battle, it was really interesting to watch. Really good skills, speed, timing, movement, lateral movement, head movement. It was absolutely fantastic to watch. Lomachenko, maybe one thing I did pick up on him was he didn't seem to fight for the full 3 minutes. I think he maybe spent the first 90 seconds of the round looking at Russell Jr. trying to time his power, time his speed, quickness of his hands, and just basically pick him off. I noticed it again, but at the 6th round when Russell was kind of going about with kind of barking with his shots and stuff. Again, Lomachenko kind of looking, using fantastic foot movement, working the body with great right hands, and obviously those sneaky uppercuts with the left hand on the inside. So 117, 111, Lomachenko equals the record of the Thai fighter who won the WBC title back in the 70s, I forget his name at present. But Tommy, mate, you're high on Lomachenko. How did you score the fight? And more secondly, the point is, I think it's going to get to a point now whereas you should have a kind of a licence in place for these judges, whereas if they have any more than 3 bad scorecards in a year, they should get banned for a year or something along those lines.
Definitely, mate, yeah, I agree. First of all, my score was, I had it 117, 111, like Lomachenko, like yourself, Andy. I think early the fight was competitive, especially for the first 3 rounds, where Lomachenko, I thought he was just edging the rounds, but Russell was definitely in the fight at that point. There wasn't a lot in those rounds, but really from the midway point, Lomachenko pretty much took over, and I felt he pretty much dominated the fight. Russell had a couple of good rounds. Lomachenko did seem to take a couple of rounds off in the middle to late rounds, but there was no way he was not in control of that fight. I thought it was an outstanding performance. He deserved the victory. I'm still scratching my head at that Lisa Jampa card as well. It's shocking, really. I would, regarding the judges, I'd like to see 5 judges at ringside for now on. I know there's usually 6 or 7 officials at the fights, but I think you're never going to eliminate the bad scoring. So what you need to do really is get more judges. So if there is a bad score or 2 bad scores, there's others yet to pick up the slack.
Basically, I mean, women shouldn't be scoring fights, period. I mean, we had C.G. Ross. I mean, would you say that fight was like on par, that result was on par with maybe, say, like the Mayweather-Canelo card by C.G. Ross?
I wasn't far off it. I think it was a more competitive fight, obviously, but I think it was pretty clear that Lomachenko was winning the vast majority of the rounds, so I really can't see how anybody could have a scorecard there, but you're right about the women. You look at the scorecards, Adelaide Bird, C.G. Ross, Lisa Jampa, they should be here making their man's dinners and that, no fucking sitting at the ringside scoring fights.
I mean, with all due respect, that's fucking stupid. I mean, Julie Letterman's one of the best judges in boxing, and Waleska Roldan from New York, who is local to me, I've seen her judge a lot of fights. She's pretty good. I mean, we don't go crazy when You know, what was the guy who turned in a card with Donaire versus Vasquez Jr., turned in a card for Vasquez Jr.? We don't go, oh, well, you know, ban men from judging fights. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. I mean, you know, I just want the best judges judging fights, and, you know, whoever they might be, I don't care. I just want people that are going to turn in accurate scorecards.
See, if you had a women's fashion parade, would you have men there judging it? Of course you would. So why would you have two women judging two men? Why would you have a woman judging two men fighting? It's a man's sport. They need to let go.
Tommy speaking with authority there. I mean, Kurt, at the end of the day, mate, you know...
Sorry, to agree with Donnie, Julie Lederman is a good judge. Like, so I've got to take my hat off to her. She is a pretty good judge, solid.
Pretty and good, or just pretty good?
I'd bang her to
Kurt, you know, some people, I think maybe as time goes on, are going to end up saying that, you know, they're maybe overrating this performance or this victory for Lomachenko, considering that Gary Russell has done next to jack shit really in the professional ranks. But at the end of the day as well, as the kid showed, although I've been a fan of him in the past, my kind of enthusiasm have waned over the period, but he showed heart, he showed toughness, willingness to try and keep going forward. But basically his downfall was, even though he was willing to come forward, he just couldn't maintain it for like 3 minutes of the round, because it was more like the time as when Lomachenko was on the back foot. He was more thinking about his defence rather than thinking about his offence, because he's a more, I says, come forward fighter, more aggression about him. I just felt as if Russell was able to kind of push him back for like more than one minute or minute and a half of each round, as he could have had more success in the cards.
Well, yeah, I think we've all said this about Russell Jr. in the past. The guy's obviously got a lot of talent, but the problem is, we've seen it with other fighters around, you know, for different promoters. Some guys, for whatever reason, seem to be protected. They get their padded records, and they don't face that guy who contests them, and then they have a big step up, and they just can't cope with it. I mean, Russell Jr.
Chino is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, Russell's made mistakes in the past in the ring, but he hasn't been punished because the guys he's facing are just not good enough. But when he steps up, it's too much for him, and you know he did show his heart in there. You know, I was surprised how Lomachenko goes to the body so much, because it's unusual for an Eastern European amateur, who's been probably one of the, if not one of the best amateur ever. But to see him target the body so much, because obviously it doesn't really mean nothing in the amateurs. You don't expect that you think of more an upright style and a lot of jabs, but Lomachenko, the footwork and the body work are just excellent, and Russell Jr. just couldn't deal with it at all. And it's hard to say where the win rates, because we need to see Russell Jr. now face good competition. He can't go back down. He's got to stay up there now, challenging top guys, and the talent's definitely there. But for whatever reason, they kept him away from top guys. There must have been something there. So now we need to see what he can do against other good fighters. Yeah,
there was something in running about there that I was reading during the week and stuff like that between people on Twitter. There was something basically that they were seeing, they being Russell's camp, but by the reason they were holding him back. I mean, I heard Showtime saying that the goal was to get the 20 so fights and then go for a world title fight. But as I've said in the past as well, is what I've noticed with these Heyman fighters is they tend to get these easy builds up, try to make a star, and maybe grab a world title in a weaker division where they're the bigger guy coming down in weight, move them up, and then what will happen is when it comes up to step up in class against someone who's been there and done it, or maybe just maybe on that same level of stuff, they get found wanting. The most latter case has maybe been Cloner against Chino, a guy who's been at the world level for a couple of years, been in tough fights, hard fights. Something Cloner was never in, because he had it easy for the best part of his professional career, fighting smaller guys, and he gets found wanting when it came up against a bigger guy,
and
or the guy same size.
It just shows, even though Lomachenko lost his fight with Salido, he learned way more in that fight than Russell Jr. has probably learned his whole professional career, because he just hasn't had to really deal with much. And someone like Wilder's a perfect example. He's going to sink or swim on his big step up against Stavern. They might have played it, gambled it right, but it might be horrible for them as well. And it's a tough one to do, because some seem to take the gamble of just taking the easy road to a title shot. Some, want it the hard way. I think the guys who come up the hard way, they got a lot more about them when things get tough in the ring.
I remember when Michael Grant was going through. Michael Grant that fought Lennox Lewis, and he was knocking everybody out. He fought nobody in the weight his title, pretty much like Wilder. You just don't know that heavyweight until they get hit in the chin. So Wilder's he's still an unknown commodity. Look at David Price. He looked sensational too when he was knocking over who was supposed to be knocking over. But as soon as he came up against a bit of resistance, we know what happened. They crumbled. So pretty much the same thing can happen to Wilder. You need to. I'm not saying to put your fighters in with world class fighters and after 2-3 fights, but you really need to have them tested and you can find out what they're going to do.
They need to win with a guy who, even though he's not expected to win, there's a chance he could win if he performed at his very best, and the other guy had a bad half. But a lot of Russell Jr.'s previous opponents, they just haven't got a chance, and you expect that early on in the career, but it's to still be going. I don't know how long he's been a pro for, quite a few years now, and he's still taking them on. So, but he's obviously a good fighter, and he shouldn't be written off. He's got the talent.
Donny, probably I think that Lomachenko didn't really come to the notification of the American public there until, well, especially amongst the hardcore fans, I would say, roughly to about 2011, 2012. What is the general consensus now after Saturday night? Has he been slightly overrated, as I say, because of who Russell hasn't fought, or any challenges he's actually came up in the past? Have you slightly overrated his victory? And B, how did you score the fight?
Well, I had it 117-111, as I believe you did. I don't think that he's overrated. I don't think that he's underrated. I think that he's assessed, generally speaking, among boxing fans that I've come into contact with, I think he's assessed just about right. A lot of people, including myself actually, picked Gary Russell Jr. I mean, I didn't necessarily pick him, but I thought there was a very, very good chance that he could upset Lomachenko.
I think you picked him, Donny.
Well, I came close to picking him, but I held back.
You picked him.
For fear of him. Basically, I pussied out, but yeah, no. I mean, I came very close to picking him because I thought that there was a good chance that he could upset him. I thought the speed would frustrate him and so forth. And I mean, the class just really showed there. And you could say, yeah, Gary Russell hasn't fought anybody, but you know what? When you were watching that fight, I think it was very clear to any educated observer that you were watching class versus class, right? That there was two very, very good boxers in there. And it was exciting precisely because you realized the level on which they were competing, which was a higher level than I think we're sometimes used to seeing in the ring. I mean, sometimes, I don't mean to disrespect Guerrero and Kamagai, who came later, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But I mean, they were just sort of standing there and trading shots and be like, let's see who falls first. And that's exciting and it's great. And, I give praise to that. And we all love watching fights like that. But at the same time, I mean, you don't get to necessarily see two class operators in there all the time the way you saw Russell and Lomachenko. And I think that when Lomachenko dominated a guy that I think whose amateur pedigree is really, really, high, Gary Russell was a medal favorite. I think when you dominate a guy like that, you deserve all the praise that you get. He is a technical savant, and I think there's only good things to come from him.
Joining us in the call at present is Alistair McDonald. Alistair, mate, did you see the fight? How did you score it? And technically, mate, as Donny as it said and I said at the start of the show, very, very good technical fight from the get-go. Not often you actually get technical confrontations where it's actually quite exciting to watch. But speed, timing, everything was there to see, and it just so happened as the guy with the better pedigree just shone through in the end.
Yeah, I gave Russell, I think, 4 rounds. So I don't know what I'm not going to do the maths off the top of my head, but I gave Russell 4 rounds, 2 in the first half, I think, and 2 in the second. And it was an incredibly good technical fight. I think Russell did show that he is quite technically good, but he just didn't have the answers for Lomachenko. He tried to win the early rounds on volume, really, and in the early rounds, Lomachenko kind of gave up the first 2 minutes just having a look, but he was taking away most of the offense that Gary Russell was putting out. I mean, Gary Russell put out a lot of punches, but Lomachenko's got this. He's got brilliant defense. he's really a hybrid fighter. He's got that kind of European peekaboo style defense, catches a lot of shots, and then he also slips, but he bends through the knee rather than the upper body movement. And then also he's got great lateral movements. He takes these tiny little side steps, and he'll make people miss by millimeters. And it's really, I can't think of another fighter that employs a style quite like that. He's kind of taken in some of the best of the kind of American style defense and the best of the European style defense and come up with his own kind of blend. It was an incredibly good fight to watch. I really enjoyed it. It's kind of mentally exhausting to watch sometimes. I think people like, the guys on this pod that watch boxing and really understand the intricacies of it. It was so technical. I mean, I find this with Lomachenko a lot. It's almost mentally tiring to watch because he's doing so much stuff at the same time. His offense is
so hard to keep following the punches sometimes.
Yeah, the speed. I mean, Gary Russell's hands are just phenomenally fast. I think he's evidently faster than Lomachenko. He keeps his head straight up. But I think with Lomachenko, what's difficult to follow with him is he's doing so many different things at once. He's offsetting his opponent with an angle. He's doing a slightly unusual slip. He's setting up feinting. He's doing everything at once. And actually to watch, you can see why his opponents can't beat him, because even when you're watching him in the third person, he's doing too much at once for your brain to compute it sometimes. Right? I mean, that's a rare thing to see. And I really enjoyed the fight. I mean, it was competitive, and some of the rounds were competitive. I felt Lomachenko really took over in the second half of the fight. It became much easier to score then, I think. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you look at it from a technical standpoint, you mentioned that there's just so much going on there: foot movement, head movement, body movement, the quickness of his hands. What I noticed as well is, see when he was standing in front of Russell and let his punches go, he just didn't stand in the pocket. He slipped to the side, he turned his body to the side, threw the punches in, and he was back on straight, and he was moving to the side again. And he didn't just stand there for maybe after a 4 or 5 punch salvo. He'd move at a distance. And you have another wee quick look, and then you come back in again. I just think to myself, Christ almighty. And as you say, mentally, yeah, because I found myself on Saturday night sitting there having to stare without blinking, just so I could actually see what punches were landing, because the speed and timing of those punches were just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
timing's phenomenal.
It's like algebra personified, isn't he? He's just like some mega puzzle, just dropped in the ring, and I don't see anybody. Rigondeaux is a phenomenal fighter, and those two would give you a great fight. But I just think Lomachenko's got too many wrinkles, to be honest, and also he's younger. I can't really see anybody in a technical fight beating him. The way to beat him is to do what Orlando Salido did, really, and just make it rough and close down the distance. But he obviously had the minor lack of experience plus the weight differential there. Was massively in Orlando's favour, and I just don't see that kind of thing arising.
Yeah. I mean, that was basically a welterweight he faced in there that night, and to be honest, if you think about what happened in the 12th round, it came close to stopping him. Yeah. Tell me, what now, mate? I remember you creating a thread earlier on there, or yesterday I think it was, Top Rank have virtually almost got carte blanche in the featherweight division. I was talking off air with some people and that about, what happens next for Lomachenko. Personally, I mean, I say that if he actually beats Salido or stopped him, I want to see him just step up to see how far he's willing to go. Would you be prepared to put him in the Donaire next?
Yeah, why not? I think he's a phenomenal fighter. I'm a huge Nonito Donaire fan, as everybody knows, but that's a style, unless Donaire can knock him out, that's a style that's going to cause him problems, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think Donaire struggles with movements, Donny. Unless he gets a fighter to stand in front of him, he's going to have problems all night, but he's still got that equalising power, even though he's coming over top of the hill now.
Well, I think that could be a technical fight. I mean, we all know that, Donaire likes somebody to come to him. And, actually, I think Lomachenko fights better off the front foot than he does moving backwards. I think that was pretty evident in the Gary Russell fight, was that the best way, when Gary Russell had the most success, was when he was throwing punches and coming forward. And it seemed like Lomachenko struggled to get off when Gary Russell was throwing punches and coming forward. But that's not the kind of fight that Donaire likes to fight. So that would be interesting, to say the least. I mean, it would require Donaire, if he wanted to win, I think, to fight a different style fight than he is necessarily used to fighting. He's of course going to be looking for the left hook, but Lomachenko is far too well schooled, I think, to fall for a trick like that. He'd be like a Rigondeaux type situation, just somebody who knows like the big weapon, and he's going to neutralize that weapon, and after that, what do you have? It remains to be seen. I don't know if Donaire is necessarily ready for that yet. I don't know that he's truly recovered from the embarrassment, frankly, that I think that Rigondeaux gave him.
That pains you to say that, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It does. I'm a fan, but at the end of the day, I think it was very embarrassing to him. I think that he wanted to fare better against a guy like that, and he didn't. And it was in front of Radio City Music Hall, a packed house in front of New York City, and on one of the biggest stages in boxing on HBO. He kind of shit the bed, really, and I don't know that he's necessarily over that. And I was just going to say too, it's tragic and unfortunate that. It's probably good for his career, but it's unfortunate that Rigondeaux's time with Top Rank is over, because boy, would that fight with Lomachenko be great. But I don't think we'll see it now.
Kurt, you were talking about speed with Russell. There were a lot of punches. He was kind of back and throwing these quick, I don't know, it was like sometimes 6-punch flurries. Those weren't landing. People were talking about you should have went to the body more, but you need to get Lomachenko to stand in front of you for long enough to get to the body. I'm looking at the stats at the minute. Now I know these show stats might be wrong, just considering how fast they were, but through the whole 12 rounds, Russell landed 83 punches. Lomachenko landed 183, 100 more. And this is a guy with a faster hand speed, apparently.
Well, to be honest, I could see why people could score a few rounds for Russell Jr. I only gave him 3 rounds myself, but I could see why a couple more could be given to him, to be honest, because Lomachenko, I think, has a bad habit of... Yeah, you think, is he tiring, or, is he saving himself for the later rounds? Because against Salido, he seemed to really come on strong the last couple of rounds. But he seems to take rounds off, or if not, a lot of the rounds off, and he just seems to move about. And Russell Jr. was obviously not landing really anything. But when you got a guy coming forward throwing a lot of shots, obviously, like you said, really fast hands, the judges at ringside, you've said yourself, when you're at close to the ring, it's much tougher to score. You could get a different score, so I could give the judge a bit of a bit of credit there that you could see things differently. But it's just crazy, because going into this fight, nobody would have thought that, even if you think Lomachenko was going to win. The fact that a guy with such fast hands, who is obviously very talented, to land that few. What was the jabs? 4% jabs or something he landed.
Yeah, something like that. The stats were frightening.
It's just incredible.
Something like 64% of punches that Lomachenko landed, or something like that.
Yeah, and Russell Jr. just couldn't. He couldn't land what he wanted to, and to his credit, he took a batter into the body. He was missing a lot. He was obviously frustrated, but he stayed in there. He obviously isn't used to that. He hasn't lost in so long, and but like we said, that's going to be a good learning experience for him. Loss doesn't mean the end. It shouldn't be, and he's lost, and they can forget about the old now and just take what he's learned and improve, and I think he will. And Lomachenko, obviously, even though he lost against Salido, he impressed me, and it was his second fight, and he's impressed again. And obviously that, like I said earlier, the bodywork was just so impressive, I thought.
Now, Alistair, I'm going to come to you, mate. This will be the last question on the fight for the time being. But I was speaking to Kyle McLaughlin today on Twitter. He's goes under the name of Fleaman. He's one of the guys who's quite heavily into the Thai box, and I believe he's got a book out next year on it. He made an interesting comment. It's something I tend to kind of agree with. Would you consider Lomachenko a legit world champion at this point? And if not, would you say that maybe beating the likes of Donaire and then maybe Johnny Gonzalez would be, basically him saying, right, okay, yep, he is now a legit world champion, just considering what he hasn't done in the professional ranks yet?
Look, he's as legit as a lot of other world champions. He fought hammer and nail with Salido, who was a bigger guy, and I think he basically showed them that he belongs in the pro ranks and he can hang in the pro ranks. And then he beat a guy who is pretty much his equal in terms of amateur pedigree, or not quite, but albeit that Russell had a pretty poor record. I think everybody knows what his pedigree is, so I'm happy to consider him a world champion. I think he's definitely shown that he's in the mix in this weight division. He might not be the man yet because he hasn't cleared out some of the other guys, but I think he's the guy that now that the attention's on and everybody wants to see him in with, the other top guys in the division.
Would you push him? Would you push him into those fights, or would you give him maybe a couple of warm-up fights just to kind of get himself more into the pro game, or do you just kind of
Well, I'm going to say what we're talking. Who are we talking?
Lomachenko.
Yeah, so Lomachenko versus Johnny Gonzalez.
Big featherweight.
Big featherweight with a big left hand. I think he could do that. I don't know whether has he got Mares next or whatever.
No, Mares is fighting on the Canelo undercard, I believe.
Okay. I wouldn't not put him in those. I'd be confident that he could beat both of those guys. I don't know whether Gonzalez is quite a high risk to low reward ratio because he does have that equaliser in his left hand, but I just don't see Lomachenko being daft enough to get caught with one properly.
Yeah.
And then who's the other fighter that was mentioned? Sorry, I've forgotten already.
Donaire.
That could potentially be a big money fight if you get it at the right time. Again, I wouldn't worry too much about him because I think Donaire's shown. What we're seeing with Donaire is if you take that left hook away, you've got a pretty good chance of beating him, and I just think that Lomachenko could do that. Plus, the point where Donaire's in his career, I think, as Donnie rightly said, he just doesn't seem mentally where he used to be. So,
I think if you look at the Victor Jennings rematch, I think he's there to be taken. You just think about what Vic did in that fight and compare what Lomachenko could do, especially with his boxing IQ. I think he's possibly there for the right pickings. Myself personally, I would throw Lomachenko in with anybody at world class level. I don't want to see the kid pad his record against no hopers. I want him to see him in with guys who's going to test him, guys with speed, power, chins, come forward fighters, defensive fighters. I want to see it all because I just think he's going to be wasting his time fighting these no hopers. So get him in with the best possible.
Yeah,
I think the fight to meet would probably be against Gradovic. They're two relatively unknown European fighters, and the winner of the fight obviously becomes a unified champion, and that's going to obviously create an extra bit of buzz, and it's going to draw a bit of money for maybe a fight with Donaire,
Yeah. And we don't want to seem like Rigondeaux, where he's kept on the shelf, 7-8 months after the fight. We want to see him out active as well, and hopefully, he won't go the same way as Rigondeaux's gone with Top Rank.
Yeah, I think he'd quite comfortably beat Gradovic. That's what they call the Russian Mexican, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he's an exciting, come-forward fighter. It would be an entertaining fight because Gradovic would bring it, but I wouldn't have any doubts about Lomachenko winning that, really.
Just moving on, we'll just very, very briefly touch upon fat, sad Dawson knocking out George Blades in one round. I mean, that was pathetic shit. Donnie, I thought Al Heyman fighters got paid, mate. $15,000. He had to drop $3,000 because he didn't make weight. I gave him £3 over the weight, and then comes in as a fucking heavyweight. Once that guy pays his tax and pays his corner and his management, that guy's going to be going to the soup kitchen to get fed.
Fair enough. Although, I'm sure he got paid handsomely to fight Ward and to fight Stevenson as well. So, he's been out of the ring for over a year, and that's to be expected. A lot of times, guys coming up, the opponent, quote unquote, makes more than the groomed prospect whose record is being padded. And this situation isn't all that different. He's not a titleist anymore. And he's been out of the ring for over a year. So you're basically asking some guy to come in and take an L, against somebody who, many would argue is, past his best. So, they're gonna, he's not gonna make a lot of money from it. He's out in California. He's got no fans out there. We make a joke about Dawson having no fans, and granted, he doesn't have a huge fan base, but when he fought in Connecticut, when he fought Glenn Johnson the second time, I was at that fight. There was about 8,000-9,000 people there. But he's out in California where there's no fans of his, and he's not bringing any money to the table, so it's not surprising that he got such a shit payday. But it's a good. I'm glad that he came back. I think the light heavyweight division is better for having him in it. And I think that eventually down the line, a rematch with Stevenson would be exciting. But I mean, he's got to get in shape first, obviously, and he's got to get a legit win in the division under his belt before he tries to reclaim his title. But I think that his re-entrance into it shakes things up, because you basically have Kovalev and Stevenson, and they're on different networks, and we're all frustrated by that. And you got Hopkins, but Hopkins is going to fight Stevenson anyways. But I mean, in other words, by putting Dawson back into the mix, it shakes things up a little bit, and that can only be a good thing.
I don't know who saw the Devin Alexander Jesus Soto Caras fight. Alexander winning 97, 93, 99, 91 twice, 10-round decision. In all honesty, it was actually better, Donny, than a fight than I expected. Although you've got to be honest here, Caras took a lot of punishment over the years, been involved in a lot of gym wars, human punching bag. But Alexander did make it quite interesting for a couple of maybe 6-7 rounds, and they began to tire badly, I felt, down the stretch.
Well, first of all, I thought Alexander was way more offensive, way more, getting off first than he normally is. I think that was something that his trainer, Kevin Cunningham, stressed after the disaster with Sean Porter. And he looked very good in the ring that night. I thought he looked pretty good anyways. And dare I say it, Devin Alexander looked exciting. He actually put on a good show for the fans, and he traded a little bit, and didn't get caught with anything too bad, so his defense didn't really desert him completely. I mean, it was a good fight. And I think that once he tasted the power of Soto Caras, I don't think he had anything to fear with it, and he was willing to put on a good show for the fans, and he actually showed that he has a little bit more offense in his game than we maybe necessarily would have realized. So I'm excited to see what Alexander does next, and I'm hoping that this new, slightly more offensive oriented version of Devin Alexander can be present in the welterweight division again.
I think his offense is more down to Soto Caras being so slow. He looked pretty offensive against Lee Selby. No Lee Selby against Lee Purdy as well, didn't he? So,
well, his hand was broken that fight too, but yeah.
Was the little tennis noise being uttered every time you threw a jab?
It's like Gary Russell for a wee bit,
Yeah, but at least Russell Jr. had a bit of a manly, raw to his thing. The Williams sisters sound more manly than Devin Alexander, don't they?
No wonder, mate, that's because they're on the juice. No woman goes about looking like that unless they're on something. Sorry, that's not an official policy. This is not, endorsed by boxasam.com. This is just Andy Patterson's opinion.
Just blame Ben.
Just blame me.
If you want to sue anyone,
Ben Wiseman.
Ben Wiseman Industries. Just move up to the top of the card. I don't think this fight should have been top of the card, but hey ho. Alistair, Robert Guerrero wins a 12-round decision against Yoshishiro Kamagai. A fight that you could have put in a fucking phone box, and they went on okay. I managed to watch 10 rounds of it before hitting my bed. To be honest, Guerrero should have made that fight way more easier than what it was. Took unnecessary punishment and punches for what, really? We'll come on to his feature options later on in the show, but as I says, I think he could have won that fight way more easy than what he made it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if he had boxed in that fight, he would have done much better. But I mean, here's a question for you, and something I was thinking about the other day. He's piled on an awful lot of muscle to get up. Bearing in mind he was a featherweight / super featherweight. I think he bounced on a lightweight for 2 fights and then moved up to welterweight. He's way bigger than he originally was. You can tell he's carrying an awful lot of muscle, and you don't really hear that much about his strength and conditioning program, apart from the fact that he did CrossFit this time out. When have you seen him box at welterweight? He's always got shut down quite quick and ended up slugging it out. And I was watching him throw long left hands and right jabs in that fight, and he just looked slow as hell. So I think personally it might be a result of him going up in weight so quickly, and not necessarily doing the right way, that he has to stand in the pocket now and fight. And that's a more effective way for him to fight. And yeah, I mean, it was a very exciting fight. I'm kind of glad that he elected to do that for whatever reason. But I'm just not sold on Guerrero at welterweight. I mean, yeah, he's a tough guy, and he got by Berto, but again, he just stepped out and turned that into a war. I don't know if it's his arm's too heavy and he's just not that, his speed's gone away, or whether he just likes the extra muscle and he likes to turn it into a dogfight. But for whatever reason, I think he's just not the same fighter at 147 that he was at the lower weight classes.
Well, you're probably right what you're saying. I just wonder maybe if the time out there, he's had quite a lot of, lengthy spells outside the ring. I just wonder maybe, has he been just put on the weight, in the wrong way, and then he's just been unable to get it off, so he's just to pack on the muscle, so to speak. Donnie, give me your takes on the fight, mate. Did you score it at all? I never scored it, but, I felt Guerrero won it pretty convincingly on the 10 rounds that I saw, anyway.
Yeah, I saw about probably 7 rounds for Guerrero. I didn't score it necessarily. It was one of those fights where, still war of attrition, and quite frankly, actually, I gotta be honest, I was actually concerned for both fighters in the fight. I just felt like it was one of those things where neither guy has the power to necessarily knock the other guy out, but they have just enough power to really hurt him. And it just seemed brutal to me. It just seemed like a fight that I was hoping would just come to an end. It just seemed like so vicious and brutal fight. But I hope both guys take a little time off after this one before they get back in the ring, because they're going to need it, boy. That was a grueling fight, and it was thrilling, honestly. As much as, like I said, I was concerned for the participants, but at the same time, I really enjoyed it. It was great for the fans. People were on their feet, it seemed like, the whole time. It was just very, very, very exciting. And how could you not want to see both of these guys again? It was just great.
Tommy, did you see any of this fight, mate? By the way.
For me personally, Guerrero, I'm glad he's fighting the way he is. To me, he seems to be trying to make himself more of an attraction to fans, because if you see remember the Berto fight, he's got his dad, who's obviously like Angel Garcia. He can speak for him, because Guerrero's not the best talking, but his dad can shoot the shit for him. And in the ring, Guerrero can he can fight, and like they said, the Berto fight and this Kamagai fight now, he can be an attraction where when Guerrero gets a fight, you're going to watch it because you know what he can do. The Mayweather fight, obviously he wanted to make it that kind of fight, but he was shut out, he couldn't do it. But there's so many options there for him. There's Khan, there's Furman, there's all these different guys who that put him in with Guerrero, you're going to have a great fight. And if he can make it an ugly, where they're right on each other's chest and punching, he can take a lot of punishment. He can give it as well. And he seems, I know he's fighting a lot different now as he moved up, but he can take a lot of punishment, and he's a lot tougher now, I think, than he was down at the lower weights. And people expected Berto to run through him, and he couldn't. And I just think Guerrero is an exciting fighter, and he's good to watch, more so now than from the style he's adopting.
Well, as brave as he is in the ring, let's be honest though, when they proposed Keith Thurman to him, he nearly shat his pants.
And his dad's doing the same thing. He's got to go and face Lara now, and no, his dad, he's co-promoter, which he's getting a nomination for this week's WWE of the Week segment. We'll touch upon that later.
No, it's complete bullshit, though. They proposed Thurman to him, and first he didn't want it, and then he signed with Al Heyman, which is a great way to obstruct any fight. And then, after that, he tried to sue Golden Boy and get out of his contract and go bolt to Top Rank because he wanted to get the hell away from Keith Thurman. So he was just against that fight from the very beginning. And he ended up getting a fight with Kamagai, who, all credit to the man. He's a brave warrior, but let's face it, he's nowhere near the class of Keith Thurman. He may slug it out in the ring, but outside the ring, when it comes to the management of his career, he's not exactly a risk taker. And the only hope I have is that he is willing to take the Pepsi challenge, quote unquote, and get in the ring with my boy, Amir King Khan, because I think Khan. I think Amir will show him what real boxing talent is all about. I think that Amir would box circles around him personally, and I think that could possibly be a springboard to Floyd Mayweather for Khan.
I don't know if anybody else saw the fights from Monte Carlo, but if you didn't, then I'll just briefly describe what went down. Kurt, I think you want to have a wee quick comment on Martin Murray. Heike Butler, he won by 8th round stoppage against Pygmy Kotagym. Pretty much dominant performance in all honesty. Stopped him with brutal shots to the body. And Kotagym, the tie was down in the 4th, 7th and 8th, and to be honest, he was just pretty much outclassed. Yuri Kalenga beat Matus Masternak over a split decision over 12 rounds for the vacant interim WBA cruiserweight title. Now this title has been created because Lebedev hasn't fought in over a year. 116, 112, 115, 113, and one judge, Juan Manuel Garcia Reyes, somehow saw the fight for Masternak 115, 113. Disgrace, he should be on the shit list. I felt Kalinga won the fight pretty clearly. It did tire going down the stretch. I think around about the 8th or 9th round he was showing visible signs of tiredness. But without a doubt he won that fight. So I just don't know where Masternak can get a nod on the judges' scorecard there. Now oddly enough actually, Masternak, who I believe is actually Polish, when it came down to the final card on that announcement, it was actually the Polish judge that gave it to Kalenga. Forget his name, Paweł Cardini, 115, 113 to Kalenga. To be honest, the main event, Martin Murray won a 12-round decision for the vacant WBC silver middleweight title. 117, 112, 119, 109 twice against Max Burzak. I switched the fight off after 6 rounds. Murray just, for me, didn't get started, just kind of basically had his way, and there was just absolutely no urgency in that work or performance. So maybe, I really don't know what to say about Martin Murray. I don't want to hate on the guy. I just felt he could have done a lot more than what he's shown in those first 6 rounds that prompted me to switch it off. Kurt, I think you want to have a wee quick comment on this, mate.
Yeah, I mean, since that was his second fight now, wasn't it, with a new promoter, and to be honest, he's looked pretty poor in both of them. I know he won comfortably against Bursak, but, I mean, what do you expect? Bursak is poor, just like, the last guy fought, was it Tete or whatever it was. The thing is, I think Murray, they signed him based on the Sergio Martinez performance, when arguably he should have won that fight. And I think they thought he was better than what he was, and I don't mean to disrespect Murray, but I just think he's incredibly overrated. I think he's a decent middleweight in a pretty average middleweight division, and I read today on Boxing Scene that the IBF offered Felix Sturm a chance to fight Curtis Stevens, and IBF eliminated. Felix Sturm knocked it back because he's injured, he won't be able to fight till the end of the year. The next man asked was Martin Murray, and he turned it down for whatever reason, so I don't know what their plan is. I mean, they keep saying they're going to fight Golovkin, but I can't see that ever happening. They're turning down other title shots, or eliminators for a title shot. So I just don't know what their plan is. I mean, he's gone with these promoters. He's apparently earned good money from making a deal, but they weren't impressed with his first fight. And even though he got the win, I just don't see how they're going to be too impressed with him, and how they think he could beat someone like Golovkin. In all fairness,
yeah, it was poor
for a fuckload of money, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it is life-changing money that he's went to that South African promoter for. But at the same time, as he'd be the absolute cure to watch paint dry. It was just dreadful. I mean, I watched his last fight as well. Even though he won by stoppage, it was very, very, very poor. And the guys are saying on Mixler as well. We've spoken to him in the past as well, Kurt. He's got a problem trying to get into America as well for the visa issues. So you just don't know. Maybe he's just going to cash in his chips with this deal he's got with the South Africans and maybe call it a day. And if he does, fair play to the guy. He's made his money. He's taking the risks, so that's entirely down to him. Moving on, very, very briefly, IBF light heavyweight title eliminator. The winner was to face Bernard Hopkins. In all honesty, Hopkins would have been sitting there pissing himself laughing and watching this fight. Anatoly Dudchenko stopped in 7 rounds against Najib Mohammadi. Mohammadi made to look like a world-class pound-for-pound star on the level of Floyd Mayweather. Dudchenko absolutely dross. I mean, expletives doesn't even do the word justice for this guy. I mean, he's got the height, he's got the reach, he couldn't jab, he couldn't impose his will, he couldn't grab, he couldn't tie up, and Muhammad had just absolutely fucked him up. Donnie, did you see this fight?
I didn't, Andy.
No.
I wanted to see it before today's pod, but I didn't get a chance.
Right, no problem.
This what I was talking about the other week, about
Rankings,
where these rankings, I mean, who could blame Hopkins for just, dumping the belt instead of facing that guy? Because just what's the point? I mean, yeah, some will say, well, he's deserved this shot, but how has he deserved it? But just because, some corrupt rankings put him as the number one after winning that kind of fight. It's just crazy, and as fans, you want to see, the champion face the best guys or the deserving guys, and winning a fight like that, he's not deserving a title shot, in my opinion.
See the IBF, the world rankings, in every single division, they're very, very questionable.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Take
I think every ranking body's like that, no, mate.
I was gonna say.
See, to be honest, though, the IBF have got a lot. They've got a lot of nobodies in their ranks, haven't they? You look at the. I know Cornelius Bundridge was a former champion, but they've still got was the number one contender, Carlos Molina. They've Sergei Lomachenko at 3. If you look at the heavyweight division, they've got Glasgow at number 2. They've got Ustinov back in there.
Fuck. Ustinov's
he's at number 4.
Wait. Chagayev versus Okendo is for the WBA regular.
Listen, Mr. Current Affairs, we didn't know about that fight until today, yeah?
Yeah, and Tommy, you mentioned K9. Haven't the IBF forced Molina to face K9 within 120 days or 90 days or something?
K9 Bundridge again.
Is he at the jail yet?
Aye.
He's back in Mexico training.
Alright, good stuff.
Just before we move on to the Twitter question, lads, they got the card from Puerto Rico, which I managed to watch last night. McWilliams Arrow won an eliminator for the IBF.
He's got to hate
title.
He's got to hate some Scottish in him somewhere, eh?
Aye, he is definitely, because he's got a brother called McWilliams Joe or something like that as well.
Alright.
Nick Williams.
He beat Florian Saluda in 2 rounds, pretty much emphatically. Left hook. Donny, I think this guy quite left hook happy, but he landed 2 flush left hooks, and the third one just dumped the Filipino on his arse.
Yeah, it sure did. That was a fun little fight for as long as it lasted. The Filipino guy was really fast. He had really fast hands. And at first I thought, wow, I mean, I was thinking Arroyo's here, he's in front of his hometown fans, and he might get beat if the judging's fair. He almost certainly lost the first round, and he was seemingly having trouble dealing with the speed, but all he was doing was biding his time, and he timed the Filipino guy. I forget what his name was. Was it Cazares?
Saluda or something.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, he timed him perfect, and he just smashed him with a left hook right on the jaw, and that's all she wrote. And I'll be excited. He's the mandatory to fight. What is it? Ren.
The IBF flyweight champion is a Thai fighter that beat Koko Ioka, which is Rairunga or something. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I think it'll be a good wee fight, that. I would actually fancy Thai in that fight, though.
Yeah, no, it could be a good fight, and the flyweight division is a hot division. I mean, it doesn't get as much pub in the media. It doesn't get a lot of media attention, but for real hardcore boxing fans, they know that the flyweight division's hot, and this just adds a few more logs to the fire. It's a great division to be a boxing fan of right now.
Yeah, just to let the listeners know, as we haven't listened, the flyweight lineal title has been sanctioned. Well, the lineal title's on the line. Roman Gonzalez will face the champion Akira Yagashi September 5th in Japan, so we'll be looking forward to that fight. Also in that card, a guy who maybe we want to watch out for the future prick card, Coulon, has been quite highly touted by Felix Trinidad. Won a 5th round knockout against Carlos Garcia. Does seem to be pretty good. He goes 10-0 with 10 knockouts. Moving on to our Twitter questions. Alistair, coming to you first, mate. I think this is going to be a direct question, actually, because I think with the talk with potentially Brook and Porter not happening, I think maybe Porter's maybe hanging on for the Mayweather fight, even though Eddie Hearn's told us tonight that it's 100% signed on both ends. But this question comes from Jack Houghton. Who wins out of Brook versus Jojo Dan for the vacant IBF title in Sheffield?
Oh, but that's a much easier fight for Brook, and Jojo Dan's got he's a good technical little boxer, I suppose. He beat the Turkish guy Selçuk Aydin
Twice, I felt, my opinion.
twice, got hosed. But Aydin, to be honest, he's not that great at fighter. He's never that good. He's a one type. He's one punch at a time kind of guy. Aydin, Jojo Dam, I like him, but I don't think he wins that fight. I mean, Kel's got a great jab, and Jojo Dam, he's got no pop on his punches, so I just see Brook having a pretty easy time in that one, to be honest. And it's a shame because I actually quite like Jojo Dam. He just he's driven. He's a nice guy and he works hard. But
Tommy, I'll come at you with this one, mate. This one comes from Gure Mundial. Who is more pissed at Saturday night's results? HBO that Top Rank passed on a fight they could have had, or Al Heyman that one of his guys got handled on Showtime and got paid less? The real winner was Lomo and Top Rank for me. Who was it for you?
Oh, without a doubt, it's Lomachenko and Top Rank. But Gary Russell can come again, though, can't he? He is young, he did put up a good fight, so he did get good exposure for that fight, so maybe it's not all bad for him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, consider this. HBO consider themselves, well, we didn't spend $1 million, and now we have the guy who won the fight coming back to fight on our network.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, a champion as well.
Yeah.
You see, as Tommy mentioned earlier on the show, you've got the potential Gradovich fight, so, as it says, apart from, I don't know what the current situation is with Gonzalez promotional-wise. I know he was with Golden Boy for a while. Is he with Zanver now or anything like that? Anybody know?
Who's that, Johnny Gonzalez?
Aye.
He's with another Mexican promoter whose name escapes me.
Right, so potentially you could end up getting a lineal champion at featherweight, potentially.
Yep.
It'd be good to see if we can get it.
There's talk
versus Gonzalez be for the lineal title?
Say again?
No, but if there's unifications that we've got a chance again, I think that's what you mean, Andy, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I would say Gonzalez is probably the number one in the division at the minute.
There's talk of Christian Mahari's getting a shot at Johnny Gonzalez next, I think.
Yep.
Let me
I've heard that as
just
well.
check here who I put in the rankings. But before I do, Clark, I'll go to you this next question, mate. Then Donnie, I'll come to you last before the Belly of the Week segment. This one goes to you first, Kurt. And then I'll get another question for you, Donnie. But this one comes from Boxing Maverick. Could any of Eddie's hot prospects in the world do a Lomachenko, Kurt?
No.
I'm trying to think whose hot prospects are. You've got the Smith, Callum Smith.
Callum Smith.
Well,
Who else you got?
He's had about 10
Joshua.
12 fights already, hasn't he?
You've got Joshua.
No, I mean, to be fair, any promoter around the world will say they've probably got, a hot prospect or, but there's a difference between having a highly rated prospect and a guy like Lomachenko or a Rigondeaux who have just been, they're right in there for who's the greatest amateur of all time, so these guys have dominated the amateur scene. They've, dominated most of their opponents in that area of the sport, and so it's a different kind of thing. There's very few guys like Lomachenko or Rigondeaux, and if a promoter gets one, then they're obviously going to be ready much earlier than, a guy like Callum Smith who, looks really good, but you wouldn't throw him in against the top quality opponent, in his third fight or second fight, whatever.
I like the Brazilian guy, kind of Falcao. There's two of them. He's tremendous.
When they went to Top Rank, did he win gold at the Olympics or was it silver? He lost to Murata. That's what it was. He lost to Murata.
That's right. He was the favourite for the gold medal.
Is it Esquives, Falcao?
Murata could fight legit guys in middleweight right now. It's not a deep division. I think he could fight real guys. I mean, I'm not saying he could do a Lomachenko and fight Golovkin or something, or fight like one of the top guys in the division. But
you talk about Murata here.
If he really, really wanted to get pushed fast, Murata could be a belt holder like next year.
I don't know. I mean, there's still slight flaws. He's still got a bit of an amateur style about him. I mean, they're really working hard on his right hand to try and keep it up.
So what about the wee Chinese guy?
Zhao Ximing.
He's no chance, has he? He's no chance.
There are a few people in the mix that have mentioned Anthony Joshua against someone like Stavern, but it's even him, even though he looks exciting and he looks the part, he's still, much like Gary Russell Jr., obviously much earlier, but he hasn't fought anybody yet, and the guys who he's faced have meant to fall over at the first punch, basically. So I know he's fighting Max Scouter next. And a few years back, that would have been a good test, a decent little test, but, he's nearly 50 years old now. He's been blown out a few times, so it's probably going to be another one-round job.
Eddie Hearn would faint if he saw that mixed up chat right now with all these guys that they're wanting Joshua to fight.
Brown guy.
Cromscott says in the Mixler chat that Joshua would lay Vlad out and make Kurt cry.
we just ignore those comments.
Alistair, what do you think, mate, about Cal Yafai at super flyweight? Do you think he would mean it's no better? Well, I wouldn't say it's a deep division, but it's got some good talent there. Would you see him maybe grab a title there if he was pushed into it?
Can you remind me who the title holds?
Omar Narvaez. I think Canada dumped the IBF title. Solis has no longer got the title. Who else we got at super flyweight? Koho Kono's the other title holder, and the BBC super flyweight was the guy Carlos Kudras. He beat Runyevieze recently.
I mean, Narvaez is a good wee boxer, and I wouldn't fancy Yafai's chances against him yet. Kohei Kono's, he's not, I mean, he's technically alright, but he's got that game-changing right hand, and he's very rugged and aggressive.
Yeah, his game is fuck.
Yeah, whereas, Yafai's actually, he's very technically good. I mean, he went, I think with the the World Championships, he fought Roshi Warren, to a very close decision. He's had a couple of very close fights with Roshi Warren, who's, incredible technical fighter from an amateur point of view. His pro career's kind of, he turned pro too late, really, didn't he? But he's got a good left hook. Yeah, I mean, he could be in the mix with those kind of guys very quickly. And if Kameda was still holding the title, I'd pick him against Kameda because he's just looked pretty dire the last few times out. He needs a bit more development, but he could definitely be a force in the division. He's somebody to watch, I think.
Who are we talking about?
Cal Yafai.
Aye, Cal Yafai. I like Cal Yafai. Yep. Good fighter.
Donny, the last question goes to you, mate, and then it's Bellew of the Week time again. This one comes from Josh Tebow. Realistically, how long away is a Rigondo-Lomachenko fight?
Well, now that Rigondeau's top rank, maybe
never happen.
Maybe the 12th and never.
Never happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's unfortunate because, boy, like I said earlier, would it be exciting to see those two guys get in the ring? Just, it would be really, really exciting fight to watch if you're a hardcore boxing fan. But I don't know well, I say I don't know what would happen now, but the thing is that as Rigondeaux jumps to, well, even now, actually, you know what? Who knows? If Rigondeaux jumps to Golden Boy, those fights aren't even out of the realm of practical possibilities now because Golden Boy, if you're signed with Golden Boy, Oscar is willing to work with Bob Arum to make fights, so maybe that can happen. And if he signs with a foreign promoter, then maybe it could still happen, but I highly doubt it, because it would be a big risk for both guys. Lomachenko's coming off a big win right now, but at the end of the day, he's still 2-1, and if he takes a second loss right now, I think it would be really damaging to his career, and he hasn't really developed as a professional yet, even though he has the title. Yes, I know, but he still really needs a little more seasoning. And also, Rigondeaux doesn't really want to go up past 122. According to you, Andy, as you've said in the past, I don't know this to be true myself, but I'm going off of what you've said, is that he basically has to...
He's a bantamweight.
He's a bantamweight who kind of eats his way up to 122, but he doesn't really have that kind of size. And, Lomachenko's a fairly sizable featherweight. I personally, because of the size differences, because of where they're at in their careers, and because of the potential promotional difficulties, I don't actually see it happening. If it did happen, though, it would be great.
See, the thing is, though, right, I remember touched upon this, I'm just trying to get the weights again for the fight, Lomachenko on Saturday there, but, if I look at his pro debut, he weighed 125 pounds on the scale for the Ramirez fight. I think he was only 3 pounds over the weight for this fight on Saturday. I don't know. I don't know if
Gary Russell Jr. number 1 and number 2 in the amateur division, wasn't he a lightweight?
Yeah, he went up to lightweight because I think the featherweight division. No, I didn't get wiped out. I think he made room for someone coming into featherweight. But what I'm saying is I think potentially there's a potential room there. If he's weighing 125 pounds for Ramirez, 125 and a quarter for Salido, and 125 and a half for Gary Russell Jr. Potentially, if he could shave off maybe another pound and Rigondeaux coming up maybe a pound or so, maybe meet in the middle at a catch weight, this is all hypothetical. The fight's never going to happen. I think Rigondeaux, his contract's out next month. I can't see Top Rank want to make that fight after that. If those guys are going to end up parting ways from different promoters, I just can't see it.
I thought him and Russell Jr. both came in about 138. I thought Showtime said.
I'm trying to find the weights actually.
Pretty sure they came in, 10, 12 pounds, not above the weight.
Let's see here.
But Lomachenko would be just a lot bigger, wouldn't he, than Rigondeaux? But to be honest, I mean, right now, if they fought, I'd favour Rigondeaux. I mean, I know he'd be smaller, but I just think, his style would just be too much for Lomachenko right now, in my opinion.
There we go, 138.5 for Lomachenko and 138 for Russell. So I was a bit off with that one. But I remember that he came in quite light for the Ramirez fight. I remember something along those lines. Anyways. Coming up next is the much vaunted and respected Belly of the Week segment, and Kurt's just going to do his magic just now and bring us the intro music that's about reaching the millions and millions of listeners.
Let's be totally and brutally honest here. Sean Corbin makes Valerie Brudov look like Ivan Drago. It's as simple as that. He's beat what's in front of him tonight. He faces me. He's going to visit mental demons again. And let's get something straight. Come to me, mate. You come to me. Next time, ain't no judges going to be needed. I'm going to do worse than Kovalev. I am going to do worse than Kovalev.
On Saturday night, mate, you better hold it together. I'm going to smash it in there, you to pieces, mate. I'm going to hit him. When he gets in the ring and we get 10-ounce gloves on, I'm going to smash his head to bits. I'm going to do it November the 30th against all odds. No matter what people say, the journalists write what you want. All as I'll say is tune back in and then look at me on December the 1st when I am world champion. It's as simple as that.
I'm willing to die in that ring. It's as simple as that. I am willing to die. I'm willing to die, Saturday. Is he? You fucking rat!
Let's be totally and brutally honest here. that's quality.
Oh, guys, Belly of the Week is back. I think we've got some strong contenders. There was a vacant title last week. Unfortunately, we didn't think that the pack was very strong. But I was this afternoon I was looking through the websites and stuff, and I came across some comments. I think Gary Russell Jr.'s made a couple of comments this week. But this one came in to me from Marcus Bellinger. This one goes to Robert Guerrero, and I quote, "I realised I had the type of power that made Floyd Mayweather not want to stand in front of me." Listen, pal, Mayweather didn't want to stand in front and fucking fight you like that is because he knew he was never going to do it. I mean, if you thought you were retarded enough for that to happen, then, more fool you, so to speak. So, this one goes to Bob Santos. This is the co-manager of Robert Guerrero. Thurman has to beat Lara to get a shot at Robert Guerrero. Who the fuck is Robert Guerrero? Is he Canelo?
That's not even in the same weight division, and Lara's tied up in a fight. It just doesn't make any sense at all, does it?
So basically, is Guerrero's got to go up another weight division to fight Lara, and then you got to come back down again to fucking fight Thurman? I mean, you're saying that Thurman could actually go up in weight as well, doesn't he? He's kind of one of those fighters that can maybe differentiate between the two divisions.
He's fought a light middleweight before, hasn't he?
I think Guerrero and his team are looking at it, because they got that Mayweather fight, they seem to think they're on that level, you know what I mean? So now they think guys have to beat guys to face them, and obviously normal sane people know that isn't the case,
Yeah. Now, I've got 3 comments here attributed to Gary Russell Jr., right? I think you all know what's going to come here shortly. First one, I don't know who Vasily Lomachenko is. Liar. Fucking liar.
Wasn't it the same Olympics as him?
Same Olympics. Listen, mate, if you know what it's like. It's the same as a pro game. If you're travelling the world to fight amateur fights, etc.,
you know who you're fighting.
You know who you're fighting. You know the word that does the corridors and stuff like that, who the best fighter is, or who the man to beat is, or who the man to fear is, so to speak. He fucking knows. Next one to Gary Russell. Lomachenko still fights like an amateur. Well, amateurs don't punch to the body very much, but there you go. And Russell again, if Lomachenko takes initiative, the fight ends early. no failure. Now this one actually, I was rewatching the fight this afternoon actually, and I came across this one from Brian Kenny. I don't think it's absurd to have that fight a draw.
Brian Kenny's a fucking idiot. He had Pacquiao Bradley won a draw too, didn't he?
Did he?
No,
That fight even. He had that fight for Bradley.
He did.
Who are you talking about, guys? Sorry?
Brian Kenny.
Matty's relation.
Useless cunt, eh?
Is there no Steve Bunce or Chris Eubank?
No, Eubank's been quite quiet this week. Steve Bunce, he's actually been quite...
Bunce was alright on Saturday night.
He was okay actually. I mean, I listened to his podcast there last week as well. He was fine, there were no comments, I can't say.
The man himself hasn't said nothing. Tony Bellew?
Tony Bellend, nothing at all from the big man himself.
I think the build up to that Cowboy fight, there's gonna be so many. We're just gonna have to hand out multiple awards, regular, interim,
silver, bronze, diamond, sapphire.
I'll probably throw Bellew on Twitter every day just to try and get a reaction when the build up to that. Wind him up, try and get a Bellew of the week out of him every day.
You guys got any other nominations?
No.
I would like to nominate, remember, Marcagiani for his comments about Slavic fighters being rubbish and American fighters being great, and Lomachenko pretty much implying that Lomachenko was a dud. I'd just like to say ha-ha to you.
I mean, I read a comment actually on another site that actually called Gary Russell a skilled bum.
Called who?
Gary Russell a skilled bum.
It's better than just being a downright shit bum, I suppose.
Yeah. So
he's a decent fighter, Gary Russell, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a decent fighter. I mean, listen, nobody's going to say he isn't he? I mean, it's just the fact that people shout on him because his resume, really, you know, that's all you can really say about the kid. I forgot that guy's name. What's that guy's name again? The co-manager for fucking Robert Guerrero. I've deleted his name there.
I have no idea. We'll just call him Guerrero's manager.
Yeah, let's call him Guerrero's co-manager.
Yep.
Yeah, right, okay, so we've got Gary Russell Jr., Brian Kenny, and Robert Guerrero, and Bentos. Guerrero's co-promoter.
His name's Bentos, according to...
Ben Santos, that's it, Ben Santos.
Bentos, aye.
Ben Santos. So Ben Santos, Robert Guerrero, Gary Russell Jr., or Brian Kenny. Alistair?
What was his name again?
Ben Santos.
I was joking. Yeah, Ben Santos.
Donny? Where's Donny?
Ben Santos.
Sorry.
Oh shit, wait a minute. I've got another candidate, but it's not about something somebody says, it's about something somebody done. Floyd Mayweather at the strip club.
100 grand.
Throwing 100 grand away. No, that's not a lot of money to him.
But that's not a penny value thing, was it?
Donny threw it into the sky.
Did you see the strippers there, Donny? The strippers were hotter. The strippers were
100 grand.
Our strippers in schools was hotter than that. Like these things were fucking horrible.
Tommy, just as well you and Donny were there because he'd be asking you for a sub to go and take one round the back, you know. Donny, what's your nomination?
I don't have a nomination.
The ones I just gave out there.
Yeah, among the candidates, I definitely vote for Robert Guerrero's manager.
Two for Ben Santos. Kurt?
Yeah, Ben Santos.
Oh, could be a wipeout this week. Tommy?
Ben Santos.
Yeah, we'll give it to Ben Santos. We're going to give it to Ben Santos. Well done, Ben Santos. You are the winner of the prestigious Bellew of the Week award for talking the absolute verbal diarrhea and undiluted pish of the week. Well done.
I just think half of these people are just saying stupid shit, just try and get a nomination.
Everybody's trying to get in the Bellew of the Week, mate. I've took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's world renowned now. I mean, we're getting spoken about on other websites. It's all over the world. I'm getting hit up on Twitter, Facebook. People are saying it's the best thing I've heard on the podcast. So, what's
Tony Bellew ever had to say about anything at all, eh?
Sorry, mate?
Tony Bellew ever had anything to say about it?
No, he's been quiet. He's never, that guy eats, sleeps and dreams Nathan Cleverly, doesn't he?
Yeah. I think he's ducking all the other Bellew of the Week title holders, though.
Yeah.
We should try and get him on and just before he talks, just say, can you hold on a second? I've got your Belly of the Week segment coming up.
Fucking brilliant. Anyways, we're going to do our discussion this week, guys. We're 1 hour 15 minutes. I think we can go on for a wee bit longer. Tommy, you wanted to bring up a topic of discussion that has generated a bit of debate on our site. People think you're trolling best and stuff like that, but I think you've got a point actually. Bernard Hopkins, I believe you call it the myth of the Hopkins myth.
Yep.
Let listeners know what you mean by this.
Basically, I've just proved that Bernard Hopkins' whole career is pretty much a myth. It's fabricated. It's just not a great career.
He's like Wizard of Oz, isn't he? You know, that guy behind the curtain.
Exactly. He's just walked out from behind the curtain, and he's just been exposed. What it is Bernard has told us for years he's in the 20 Defences Club. As some people know, there's an elite club that involves Joe Lewis, Ricardo Lopez, Darius Michalczewski, Sven Otka, and the great Joe Kolzagi. Sergio. And in this club, it is people, fighters who have made 20 consecutive successful defences of their world title in the one weight class. Now, Bernard's told us for years he's made 20 defences.
Which is one, is it not? No,
20 or 21, which is true. He did defend his title 20 times, but what we don't know is there's a no contest in there, and he lost to Jermaine Taylor. So he's only had 19 successful defences. So Bernard Hopkins' career, that's pretty much crap now.
So Donny's itching. Donny's
going to bite. Yeah.
He's basically saying this is a cow slappy wank fest.
Bernard's trying to sneak into this elite members club, and I don't like it, to be honest.
Donny, explain why you think Tommy's, just basically taking the piss here.
Well, because it's obvious that.
How's it obvious? He has got no contest. It doesn't go on your record.
He's provided facts here.
Yeah.
Look, title defense means I put my title on the line. Now that other guy that in the no contest, he could have won the title. He didn't. He put the title on the line. That's a defense.
Yeah, but he didn't defend it, Donny. He didn't defend it. It's a bit like if somebody stood outside the castle.
Was it available to be won?
If somebody's like stood outside your castle and then it starts raining and they're like, fuck it, I'll go home. I'm not gonna launch an attack today. You wouldn't call that a successful defense. You would just be like, that was a no show. That's what no contest is like.
It was available to be won. The fact that the other man did not win the title is not.
Yeah, but that's a bit like you might as well start giving people title defenses for when they, when the guy ducks them and they're, he could have won, but he decided not to sign the contract. Where'd you draw the line? There's no contest. It's not just defence, is it? It's just like everybody turned up, nothing happened, everybody went home.
Exactly. Well, a no contest means it doesn't happen. It did never happen. It never existed. Donny, you're full of shit, mate.
Well, then why does it even appear on BoxRec? It's a no contest, so it shouldn't even right? It should be deleted from the internet, like in China. I mean, it should not appear at all.
Well, BoxRec's not the be all and end all of boxing, Donny, because it lists it on there and it tells us he had that fight. That's just a site for information.
Like,
when you hear
with one no contest. Well, it's a no contest. It didn't exist, so why do we even say it? Why don't we just say he's 31-1?
Because they're letting you know that. Because they're letting you know that information.
Right. So it's relevant information.
It's not a defence. It's not a successful defence, and that is
all the point. I know is, man, you defied all the titles.
Tony, wait a minute. Let him make his point. Tony,
is it a successful defence? It's the 20 successful defences club. Did he make 20 successful defences his title?
Donny?
Yes.
No, how's there no contest a successful defence?
Yeah, but did Hopkins successfully defend his WBC bout against Dawson when it was a no contest as well? I mean, you can't say he really successfully defended that when...
He defended his title against Chad Dawson, according to Donny.
So technically, you're saying he beat Chad Dawson in the first fight, you might as well say.
Donny's pretty much seen a right to floor with him.
Donny, okay, I'll put it to everybody. Go back.
I think Chad Dawson pretty much wiped the floor with Hopkins almost literally in that one, didn't he?
He did.
Go back in history, right? Go back to the old fights. You know, I mean, I remember fights getting called. Well, I don't remember the fights. I remember watching fights and reading about fights getting made no contest because A, there was shit, and B, there was no action, so the fight just got stopped and there was fucking battles kicked off in the crowd. You know, that fight doesn't go on the record as a victory, a draw, or whatever. It's a no contest. So how can that then be made class as a successful defence? Is that successful defence? Is Boxrec right by saying that the Jermaine Taylor fight was Hopkins' 21st defence of his IBF title, Donnie?
Well, I actually, if you really want to get semantic about it, I guess you could make a distinction between defenses and successful defenses. He defended his title 20 times. He successfully defended it 19 times.
Exactly. I'll take that. I'll take that.
So he's not in the same.
He's not in the club.
To be honest, Tommy did say that 20 successful defences.
I did, and Donnie argued.
Would you say, Donnie, that the no contest is a successful defence?
No, I'll admit that it's not. Bernard's achievements in the sport stand on their own merits, and at the end of the day, and this is going to hurt Tommy's feelings, but boo-hoo, okay, when the record books and the history books are written, everybody knows that Bernard Hopkins is going to be far, far above Joe Calzaghe, and he's going to be far, far above Carl Froch. And that's the fact. I mean, Bernard Hopkins is a living legend.
What about Amir Khan? I've got 2 points to make, girl. What about Amir Khan?
Wait, what? What'd you say?
What about Amir Khan? Is he going to be rated above Amir Khan?
What's going to be written about him?
Is he going to be rated above Amir Khan?
Oh, well, not after he knocks out Mayweather. Obviously not, no. But, I mean, you know.
Let me just be serious for a minute and talk your point, Donnie, right? You talk about when the record books are written. When has there ever been a record book written in boxing? It's a sport about opinion.
Well, all right. I mean, I'm just saying.
And Americans, and what the Americans will do is they'll rate Bernard Hopkins over him, and the Brits will rate Joe Calzaghe over him. So what you have there is.
How can you rate? What was I asking for? How can you rate Hopkins? Like, people shit on Calzaghe's resume. Fair enough. You want to go through Hopkins' middleweight fucking reign of terror. Robert Allen 3 times. Andrew Council. Simon Brown. Who? Sid Vanderpool got knocked out of Jeff Lacey. Antoine Eccles, decent enough fighter. Who?
Glenn Johnson.
Glenn Johnson. Felix Trinidad, who was never a middleweight, right? Carol Daniels. Who? Hacker. Who? William Joppy, decent enough. And then, okay, De La Hoya, never in my bollocks was he a middleweight. Howard Eastman, he's still fighting to this day.
A lot of people picked De La Hoya to win that fight, though.
Right?
Oh, shit.
So, right, you've got Calzaghe who beat Hopkins, right? He fucking beat him. Just put it that way.
Spanked him in Sajal's own words.
Easy.
How can you rank a guy who is undefeated, 2-weight lineal champion, world champion at 2 weight divisions above? How can you do it? How can you put Hopkins over him?
How can you rank Ali above Norton? Or how can you rank, Barrera above Junior Jones? Or how can you, I mean, like...
What? Because they had great wins. Because these guys had great wins. Bernard Hopkins, does Bernard Hopkins have a great win? Does he have a great win?
Who's his best win?
Who's Bernard's best win?
Yeah.
Has he beat a great, what great, tell me a great win for him. Now, I don't mean a marquee name like De La Hoya or Trinidad, because they're no great wins. Tell me a great win for Bernard Hopkins.
Joe Calzaghe.
He doesn't have one, and I'll tell you something else. He lost to the best fighters ever faced. In fact,
I would say his best win is probably Tarver.
Tarver's his best win.
Because he moved up and.
Yeah.
I'd say I would say Trinidad. Honestly, I mean, I know he wasn't a middleweight, but I mean, still. I don't know. That's still a pretty. I mean, he knocked him out. I mean, that was a domination, and everybody picked Trinidad to win that fight.
I didn't. I thought Hopkins won that fight. I'm not just an after. That's not just an afterwards either. I genuinely believed Hopkins was going to win that fight.
Well, I'm just saying in general, like people pick. I mean, like the betting odds, I think were heavily on Trinidad.
That's true. That's true. Just like Jeff Lacey was a big favourite to beat Joe Calzaghe.
Alright, and they're shitting over that victory as well.
Exactly. See, boxing, it's a sport about hindsight, right? Everybody talks about hindsight, but you need to use hindsight with boxing. maybe what seems a great one then will only be a great one now. Jeff Lacey at the time was a great one, but is it a great one now? Of course it's no. Tito Trinidad at the time, great one, but is it a great one now? Of course it's no. Look what they've done after the fights. Any fight that Trinidad has had against a decent fighter above light middleweight, he's been schooled. Winkelly absolutely took him apart. Shot Roy Jones absolutely took him apart. I know Trinidad wasn't at his best when he fought Jones either, but come on now, Jones was a lot more faded than Trinidad was.
Yeah, it's true, and Jay Calzaghe was way more past his prime, and this is an argument I had at the time. Jay Calzaghe was far further removed from his prime at the time of the Hopkins fight than Hopkins was, and nobody believed that to be true, but now you're just looking at how Hopkins is still going, and the fact that, well, Jay's a bit overweight and on coke, and he was already a bit of a, like he couldn't punch, and he was a shadow of himself by the time that fight came around, and he won it. He beat Hopkins when he was basically,
Done.
well on his way out. He's well done.
To see a man, a shadow of his former self, go to the United States and beat two American legends, it just humbles you, and it just makes you appreciate just what a great man he is. And this is why we all appreciate the legend that will always live on in our hearts.
I think Kurt's almost close to tears there. Donnie, you got a response to that? No, okay, good. Right, we'll move on to the next one. This one's hot off the press. I said we touched upon it earlier on there. The potential rumour is that the Kell Brook Sean Porter fight is off. Now, I tweeted Eddie Hearn, and he's told me as it was off.
Who said this?
Steve Kim's mentioned it, Fat Dan and Jim Bag and a couple of other guys on Twitter over the last couple of days. It was posted on the site. Brandon posted up on the site a couple of comments.
That sounds like a successful defence by Porter to me.
Yeah. But as it says, Eddie Hearn's tweeting me back. He says it's bullshit. The fight is on. We're waiting on a date from Golden Boy, and both parties have signed the contract. Now, what we've also heard is that maybe Porter hasn't signed Tommy from his end, and it looks like he's maybe in the Mayweather sweepstakes.
Well, actually, it was a couple of weeks ago. I watched a video. I can't remember if it was maybe iForm London or something like that. When I'm pretty sure it was Eddie. It says that Kell signed the contract and Porter hasn't. But as I say, that was about maybe a week and a half ago or something, wasn't it? So maybe things have changed now, but apparently Kell had definitely signed it. So
I mean, I'll be honest. I think if Brook, if whatever happens here, I'm not going to want to hate on the guy until we find out exactly what's happening here.
He needs to fight. He needs
a fight. I mean, I tell you what. I think. What's the deadline again? I think it was sometime this month. The deadline had to be made for the fight to be announced, because it's not really been officially announced yet, has it? Is there a date somewhere?
I'm not exactly sure, mate.
Kurt, can you remember, or was it July time? Did they get a date for something in early July?
July, I believe, yeah.
Early July, so...
And it's been pushed to September.
Donnie, stop salting and Google it.
Bolton Terrier says 19th of July it was originally.
19th of July, cheers Bolton Terrier. So September 7th has been made now, so Christ's sake.
It's just one of those ones that I don't think anyone will really believe until the first bell
goes. Aye.
It's just, Brook, even if this is not his fault, Porter might be, getting a bigger fight. We don't know. He might vacate for a bigger fight. Until we find out, Brook's the one who's going to be criticised because of the past history. He's how many years has been a pro now? He still hasn't got a title shot. He's pulled out of, twice with Alexander, I think it is, and he seems no nearer. And it's always a delay for him. When you see other matchroom fighters getting these title shots, why isn't Brook getting one, or why isn't he being pushed into one? It just seems strange goings on there.
Kell Brook's dad should have pulled it.
You steal my comment, you cunt. I mean, it is a good situation. I mean, if he does, if this is all down on Brook's side, it's going to be very hard for him to come back from it. In all honesty, I think the IBF would just take him out the rankings altogether.
Does anyone really think, though? I mean, like, in other words, the allegation is that Porter is holding back on signing because he might get the Floyd fight. Wait, does anyone really see Sean Porter getting the Floyd fight? I mean, okay, yes.
What other options you got?
No.
Maidana rematch seemingly to me would make way more money. I don't know why they would.
I agree with Donnie.
Maidana rematch makes more money. For who?
Yeah.
I think it'd make more than the Porter fight, though, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I mean, a unification fight there.
It would net more, but they would probably be looking at what purse they've got to pay Porter versus Maidana. I think Maidana probably does command a bigger purse this time around. So there's a balancing exercise there to do, isn't it? The bigger overall part and then the bigger purse that the opponent's taken. I don't know.
There's a lot of people believe that Madonna won that first fight. I can't see it myself personally, but there is there.
Well, there's a lot of people that just see the guy throwing punches and hitting the guy against the ropes, and they think that's winning. They don't really see. Floyd wasn't that flashy with his offense in that fight. They were all short, small shots. They're not as eye catching, I guess.
But that's a good point made in the mix. That if that Porter vacates for whatever reason and the fight's pushed to the end of the year, if it is at all, will Cal Brook want to sit out on the shelf, or will he have to have another warm up, and get up for a fight?
Another eliminator, do you think?
Exactly, or another, pregnant
If
or whatever.
If you can't get a final eliminator, let's get a third fight with Carson Jones.
Hang on, if Porter vacates though, then Kell Brook will fight for a vacant title.
Jojo Dan is the number 2. That was the reason why I think that question on the Twitter questions came up.
I mean, it's that simple. I mean, if Porter vacates, then it's he fights for a vacant title. But I think Porter's going to fight him personally. And quite frankly, if I'm Sean Porter, I'm not really afraid of that fight, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, all right. I mean, it's a risky fight to some degree, but I think that's a fight he could absolutely win. And, he'll probably get paid enough for it. I mean, it'll be televised on both sides of the Atlantic, so there'll be a lot of TV money in the pot. I mean, he's going to make good money off that fight. I don't see why he wouldn't want to take it.
Scared.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
we don't even know if that's just like matchroom spin bullshit. I mean, for all we know, maybe Porter has signed a contract and Kell Brook doesn't want to fight because he'd rather.
Are you questioning Eddie's honesty, Donny? Honesty, Eddie here.
We don't hate on Matchroom on this podcast, thank you very much. But there's an interview with Porter's dad. Porter's dad
gets sued, but in all seriousness, I mean, when you have a guy who's been a pro for 10 years and hasn't fought for a title yet, Kurt said, I think it was Kurt anyway, said that, the person who's obviously going to get blamed for this is Kell Brook. Well, you know what? In the absence of evidence, yes, I am going to err on the side of Kell Brook is responsible because, if you've fought for 10 years and you haven't gotten a title shot yet and you've pulled out of as many as he has, you got to think that he's in some way not doing everything he can to make this get done.
And here's the tweets, right? Dan Raphael. I'm told that Showtime Sean Porter and Kell Brook will not be on the 8th or the 9th card in Brooklyn. Will be some other day, if at all. James Bagg Jr. Kell Brook is delaying the inevitable, getting teabagged by the ultimate sack. Steve Kim, I just asked Sean Porter's father if they're facing Kell Brook on August 9th. He smiled and said it's sketchy. Simon Boxinghead, I've been told Showtime Sean Porter, Kell Brook is definitely postponed and might even be cancelled. eBox News, Sean Porter's team think Kell Brook will pull out of their fight.
Yeah, but you got Eddie Hearn saying that contract's been signed, and you got Sean Porter's dad saying that there's been no contract. So someone's lying. If so, why are they lying? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, this should just be a simple fight. They haven't gone to purse bids. Eddie Hearn was in an interview last week saying they didn't go to purse bids because they offered a good offer. Cal has no problem going to America. So what's the delay? It just seems it always centres around Kell Brook as well. If it was any other fight, you might say, well, it's just a lot of bullshit. But because it's Kell Brook, you just feel the worst, and the fight's not going to happen. You think, and you just will probably see Jojo Dan come to Sheffield, and it'll be an IBF title fight over there, won't it? And then let's be honest, it's an easier fight for them.
I just lost Tommy off the call there. I've got this sign coming up here. Kirk, can we edit this wee bit out for the download? Got a problem on this call.
Yeah, it seems fine, yeah.
Check the recording, okay?
Yeah, I think it's fine, yeah.
Right, no problem. Just edit that wee bit out then. Sorry, lads. Right, moving on just to the fight schedule next Friday. Is there any football on next Friday? I'm assuming this is the reason why this fight's happening on the Friday night.
Not sure.
Need to check. Anyway, from the Braehead Arena in Scotland, Ricky Burns makes his return to action against a guy I've never even seen yet, Dejan Zlatikanen from Montenegro, who's 18-0, 13 knockouts for the vacant WBC International Lightweight title, and I believe Tommy is back on the line. Has anybody seen this guy fight? Burns is fighting next Friday. I've never seen him, in all honesty.
I've never seen him, but he does have one decent win against a guy who Madonna fought called, is it Petrov?
Petrov, yeah, that's right.
He's not a great fighter. I'm not going to bum him up that much, but he isn't a bad wee fighter. And I think the guy done this guy Zlat Cannon or whatever he's called. He done a job on him, didn't he? So
Yeah.
he must be decent at least. So it's not going to be a walk in the park for Ricky Burns.
So, I mean, I can't really give an opinion on this fight actually, but are we thinking Burns by points?
I mean, he's a southpaw as well. I don't know if that really makes any difference. Depends on the caliber of him. You'd have to have thought that they'd have picked somebody they fancy his chances against, right?
I'm looking at that picture of him actually. He looks a sturdy, solid wee bastard actually.
And, you know, remember as well, Burns fought Gonzalez, who was an unknown, and he came over and put on a good display until he quit. And Burns is coming off the back of, 3 performances where he hasn't really performed at all. His last time he looked good was in the Kevin Mitchell fight, so he needs a big performance. And you'd expect him to win this one, but he's changed training camp, so you just don't know what he's going to bring into the ring, and if he's going to be up for this fight as much as he would be, coming off those big, world title fights. So hopefully he's back to the Ricky at his best, but you just never know.
Mm. Also in that card, one fight I'm looking forward to, and it should really, it's a bit of a mismatch in my opinion, and I think it should be over pretty early, but I think it'll be a fucking murderous war. Stephen Simmons hoping to get a bit of revenge against Wladdy Camacho for some of the comments that Camacho and pictures he's been posting on Twitter of Simba's wife. Simmons is promising to go out there and basically put him in a coma. So
it's going to be tasty, isn't it?
Oh, I think they'll probably need to get some heavy duty security in for this one. Like, it's going to be. Donnie, what type of pictures? Basically, it's pictures of Simba's wife next to Camacho doing all sorts of things and making comments and stuff like that.
Have we actually got a copy of this picture?
You need to check Camacho's Facebook, Twitter page, I think. But Camacho's he is not in a position to be talking shit about guys like Simmons. I mean, Simmons, alright, he's a good amateur back in his day. It was a great fight actually. He fought against that David Graff actually, 10-round war.
That was a great fight.
It was a great fight that. But this Camacho, this guy's never done fucking nothing.
Simmons a hard bastard. He's going to get
watch the doors. He watched the doors in Edinburgh.
He's going to blast him out, I think.
Yeah, he watched the doors in Edinburgh, so you can't do that unless you're a hard cunt. So Camacho was getting wiped out. I think he was just getting erased actually in about 3 or 4 rounds. Also in the card, John Slowey, the battle of the pillow punchers. John Slowey against Chris Hughes. That's a rematch. David Brophy fights Harry Matthews in an 8-rounder. That was meant to be a title fight for Brophy. For some reason it's been put back to an 8-rounder. And Willie Lemon gets probably one last chance to grab a hold of the British and Commonwealth title, so the British title, sorry, against Curtis Woodhouse. That would maybe be a decent enough wee scrap, I would imagine, but I think Woodhouse would have too fresh about a match. I think he maybe stop Lemon at some point.
I've always thought Iron Willie is underrated, and I think anybody who has...
Oh, fuck, here we go.
Iron Willie, the massive puncher.
Aye. Iron Willie when it's fucking solid, that's about it really. Nothing much else on the Friday night. I think there's a card from the Hard Rock Casino in Las Vegas. I think that fight's on show. I think that's cards on Showtime actually as well, is it not? Oscar De La Hoya's putting on BG Flores against Gallon Brown. It's a shit card in all honesty. Dominic Wade against Nick Brenson. Nothing there much else. I know I think Marcus Brown's on that card. Nothing else on the Friday. Saturday.
Yeah, I'm a Marcus Brown believer, by the way. That guy is the future in the light heavyweight.
Yeah, but you also say the same about Bado Jack. You know what happened there. On the Saturday from the Congo, Grand Hotel de Kinshasa, Elinga Makubu fights the Road Warrior Glenn Johnson. I tell you what, he's travelling some fucking road to go there and battle out, by the way.
And he could come back in a bad condition as well.
Donnie, that question on the Skype, I'll answer that after this call has ended, but definitely yes. Don't bother reading it out, we're going live, okay, shut the fuck up. Who else we got?
That bastard's doing, you don't want to be messing with him.
Yep, I know somebody, like he's a cool dude. Shannon Briggs fights for the vacant NABA heavyweight title against Rafael Zambono Love Eye, the black Steven Seagal. So
KO1 that'll be, I reckon.
Yes, this guy's got a winning record, I think, by the looks of it. Hang on a second, see if I check him out. 37-7-1, sorry, 34-7-1 with 27 knockouts. Since 2011, that's 8 fights, and he's lost 3 of them.
How many times has he been chinned, mate?
He's been stopped once.
Oh, well, maybe.
I
make 2 rounds this time.
That was way back in 2006 in Brazil. He got stopped in a 6 rounder.
I believe that in Kinshasa, Zaire, or Congo, whatever it is now, Glenn Johnson is going to pull a Muhammad Ali. He's going to turn back the clock and defeat a hard-punching challenger who everyone picks to knock him out. I'm taking Glenn Johnson in that fight. I think he's ready.
Okay, that's you get nomination for Belly of the Week.
Yep.
Anyway.
What did Donnie just say?
He's picking Glenn Johnson to beat Makubu.
Fucking hell, man. That's the guy that beat Fast Eddie.
No, that's the guy who would fight cleverly.
That's the big puncher, aye.
That's the guy who's knocking everyone out.
15 wins and 16 wins and 15 knockouts or something he's got.
Yeah, something like that, aye. The main fight next week is going to be the fight for the WBO lightweight title between Terence Crawford and Yokoris Gamboa in Nebraska.
Let's get a predictions on Andre.
Okay. Alistair, who are you picking it?
Crawford, he's got too varied offense, his arms are too long, and Gamboa gets caught too easy in the exchanges, but I like Gamboa, so I'm going to pick him.
Donnie?
Well, I actually have a name bet with one of our posters, Gabe, on this fight. I'm taking Crawford, but I'm taking him.
Take your boyfriend's dick out your mouth when you're talking.
Wait, what?
Take your boyfriend's dick out your mouth when you're speaking to us.
Well, no, I mean I'm taking Crawford, but I'm taking him tentatively. The thing is with Gamboa, the reason why this fight's interesting is because we really don't know what he has. I mean, we know he has a great amateur pedigree. He's a gold medalist. And the thing is that he just has never taken that big step up. And so, has he been fighting recklessly because he can? Or is it because he's sloppy? We don't really know. But when we see him in there with a real class operator, we're going to find out what kind of fighter Gamboa really is. So I could see an upset here, but I think the safe pick is clearly Crawford.
Tommy?
Gamboa is a ring genius. Gamboa is winning a decision.
Kurt?
I think you got to go with Crawford. I mean, Gamboa, if he performs at his best with the talent, everyone knows he's got, the upset obviously could be on, but when was the last time Gamboa impressed anyone? He doesn't seem to fight that often. He has been in the ring. He didn't look good the last time he was out. When was that? About a year ago. And I think Crawford coming off that win against Burrs, where I was impressed by him, even though Jim Watt wasn't. But I think at the moment he's at his peak, and Gamboa.
Chin had a problem there.
Yeah. Was it mentioned? I don't know. I can't remember.
Chin, yeah.
But yeah, I think Gamboa is just a little bit faded. But if he performs like we think he can with his talent, then this could be a close fight. But I don't actually think this will be a good fight. I think it'll be pretty tentative with both guys, not willing to commit too much.
Last time I was impressed with Gamboa would probably be the Solis fight.
When was that? 4 years ago?
2011, March 2011. Yeah, I'm picking Crawford. I just think he's got way more strings to his arrow, but it really depends what kind of drugs Gamboa has been taking this time round about.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
The size as well, when you saw them next to each other, he's massive next to Gamboa.
Yeah.
But wasn't the paperwork in the name of something like Yuri Gambo?
Rambo, Millet Rambo, aye.
Yeah, but what was the...
Next to Evan Fields.
Yeah, next to Evan Fields, yeah, the alleged Holyfield one, allegedly.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Crawford, but I still think that Gamboa is a live dog in this fight. I just really want to see who's going to be the dance partner. Who's going to take the lead? Is it going to be Gamboa? I think Crawford will probably fight more on the back foot.
I think Crawford's going to have to be the one that takes the lead in this fight.
You think?
Yep.
Because I think if Gamboa was to open up the taps, it'd be way more interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows?
It's going to be a cagey fight, though, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
It's going to go 12 rounds. I can see it. I can honestly see it. I don't think it's going to be a great fight in all honesty, but it's probably the biggest fight on next week. So I'm going to go with Crawford. So that's what 4-1,
4-2. 3-2.
Who's taking
Me and Alsh are taking Gamboa.
Taking Gamboa, Alsh?
Yeah.
Right, so it's 3-2. So that's it really. I mean, there's really going to be much to kind of discuss next week either. I mean, I think we've got a big card coming on. Cheers for that, Donny. Put me off, you cunt. I mean, I think there's a big card coming up in July. I think, who's it? Is it Lara? Is it Lara the following week? Once we get back to some normal action.
Yeah, July the 12th is Lara. I'm so happy that fight got made.
Oh, isn't it great? Yeah, I mean, 1-2 at 154, like, for, the division supremacy.
It never gets made. Like,
Canelo Alvarez, like, has won me over in a lot of ways, just by taking that fight. I am very impressed with him. I mean, he seems like a real champion in the mold of an Oscar De La Hoya, who, he didn't always win every big fight that he had, but he took on all the best. And I hope that Canelo continues along that path, because that's really refreshing to see in a sport where we rarely get to see that.
Guess who's night shift that night?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Gutted.
Let's forget all these little fights. Let's talk about a fight that's been made that really has shocked the world. Vladimir Klitschko against Kubrat, the real Cobra, Kovalev, September 6th.
I think it's just time to end the show.
I think we need an hour discussion on this.
Oh, fuck it, no way.
Yeah, they'll have to call him Bloody Face or something by the end, because that won't make me feel like he's just so upright and easy to hit. But I guess we'll have a proper preview, guys, the listeners, actually the week before that fight.
And guess what? I ain't going to be here to see it. So
well, I'm thinking a Sunday show and a Thursday preview show, but we'll see.
I'll not be here to do it, so you need to get yourself a new host, Donny. Any guys, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. Alison McDonald, Donny Baseball coming up off his sick bed, Bossman, Tommy Allen and Kurt Ward. I'd like to thank the listeners again for listening in and for sending your Twitter questions. We'll be back again on Sunday, so again, hopefully you can join us and we'll see you on Sunday. Thanks a lot.